Converting between units is really just a matter of figuring out what you want and how much of something is in the units that you want. So, and there's no funny business on this. We're not going to ask you to convert ounces into feet because I don't think that's possible, okay? So, none of that funny business on these, not a lot of trickery that happens on this stuff. The only one that is kind of tricky is that ounces stuff. Because there is a difference, right? We got weight ounces and then we got fluid ounces. So it should be pretty clear when we're asking for ounces conversions, which type we're looking at, whether it be weight or capacity. But there is that similarity there, so we just have to not get that mixed up. And yeah, I don't see the fluid ounces on the conversion sheet for the final exam, so maybe we'll see that, maybe we won't. But again, we do have to keep that in mind. Let's look at number 1. An elephant weighing 4.5 tons to pounds. So we need to convert that. So this is how this works, okay? And we kind of have to look back. So if I had 2, right? It's kind of like that fraction stuff. If I had maybe even 2/3 like this, if I multiply this by 1, do I change the value of the 2/3? I don't really change the value, right? Well, what if I made the 1, instead of it being a 1, I made it 4/4? Is that a big deal? Well, 4 over 4 is 1, right? We can change the value. We've scaled this up to 8/12, but the value of that fraction is still the same, okay? Well, that's all we're doing with this unit conversion stuff, except for instead of it being the same number, 4 over 4, we're going to be using different types of units. Because, for example, sorry, that was the wrong, needed the eraser on that one. Like this one here, let's just say, well, 1 foot and 12 inches, they're the same thing. So if I divide something by itself, it's just 1, okay? And this would maybe convert from one type of unit into another. The idea is to cancel out some type of unit to make it be some other one. For example, this one, if this was 2/3 inches, then the inches in the numerator would cancel out the inches in the denominator, which would leave us with feet right there. So 2/3 inches, if we change those numbers, right? So this wouldn't be 8/12. It would be some number of units in feet there. So this elephant, right? Let's go back to this elephant example. The elephant is 4.5 tons. Well, what we want out of this thing is pounds, right? We want to figure out how many pounds this is. So we can make that 4.5 over 1, right, as a fraction. And then we would multiply this by another fraction, just like we did up here on this example. Okay, now this fraction that we're multiplying by needs to equal 1. Specifically, it needs to be some kind of relationship with tons. And the tons needs to be in the denominator, because when I multiply this, I need the tons to cancel out. So what is it? What is the units that we want? We wanted pounds. We want this to be in pounds, so we want the pounds to be in the numerator, just like it will be for the answer. And then we just look to our unit conversion chart to figure out how many pounds are in a ton, which again should equal 1. Well, 1 ton, it appears, is 2,000 pounds, like this. So 2,000 pounds divided by 1 ton, they're the same thing. So something divided by itself is 1. And we're not changing the value of the tons. For example, the pounds we find on this will still be the same number of tons. We've just changed the units. So 4.5 times 2,000 should be 9,000? 9,000 pounds. So what happened to the tons? Well, kind of like we cross-simplify stuff. These tons canceled out those tons. So as it turns out, units can cancel out each other. So let's just ignore the numbers for now, okay? So if I started out with, let's say, miles, and I wanted to convert this to maybe kilometers. We won't be doing that in this section, but we will eventually, okay? Well, what would I take miles? And yeah, we can make that miles over 1. So I am using a value just to show that we're using fraction multiplication on this. I can multiply this by kilometers compared with miles. Again, I want that miles in the denominator so that they'll cancel out. And here's why they cancel out. Using fraction multiplication, I've got miles times kilometers all over 1 times miles is just miles, right? Well, right here, hopefully we can see that the miles would cancel out there. Something divided by itself is 1. And we're left with the kilometers. Or is it kilometers? I never know. But that would be it right there. That would be how we would cancel out just the unit portion of this. Now, again, we're ignoring the numbers right now, but with these would be numbers because, right, when we're comparing this kilometers with miles, it needs to equal 1. So we would have to know how many kilometers are in a mile or how many miles are in a kilometer. By the way, when we multiply these by this 1 stuff, we're comparing 2 different quantities there, but we're comparing them in equal final quantities, I should say. So that usually means that the bigger quantity is going to be 1. Yeah. And then we figure out how many of the other one is in that one bigger quantity. All right, so let's look at feet to miles, because miles is one of those different ones. So right here we got 43,296 miles. And we want to convert this into feet. No, that was feet. What the heck? This many feet into miles. So we would multiply this by some number of miles compared with feet. Now again, I'm just focusing first on the units so I know what I need to cancel out. And we can see right here again, the feet are going to cancel out because I can make this a fraction. So now we just need to fill in those values. And I'm looking for miles and feet. So it looks like it's 1 mile is 5,280 feet. So I do have miles, but using my fraction multiplication on this, I don't have just miles yet. I would have 43,296 over 5,280. And this just shows us division right here, so when I solve this, and that would be the answer for number 2 right there. Number 4 is a good one because it looks like, well, we may have a couple conversions on this, but we definitely have some improper fractions. So I want to take 2 cups and change this into tablespoons. So I need to multiply this by some number of tablespoons divided by the cups. And so I'm looking down here at the bottom where it shows a tablespoon cup relationship. Specifically, it says 4 tablespoons is 1/4 of a cup. So that gives us this improper fraction, but in any case, the cups are going to cancel out. So using fraction multiplication, 2 over 1, we get 2 times 4, which is 8, over 1 times 1/4, which is 1/4. And that's tablespoons, but to simplify this, that's really 8 divided by 1/4, which we can change to 8 times 4 over 1, which would be 32. So it appears that 2 cups is the same as 32 tablespoons. So number 5, we got 3.5 miles. We want to convert this to feet. So 3.5, which we can make an improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1. So we can just make this 7/2. And this is in miles. But what we want is feet, so we're going to have to multiply this by 1. But we're comparing feet and miles. Well, there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. And this allows us to cancel out the miles, which leaves us with the feet. So I got 7 times 5280 using fraction multiplication. And that would give us 36,960. All over 2 times 1 is 2. But now this is in feet. So I'm going to take that and divide it by 2, which gives me 18,480 feet. All right, so if we have 115 ounces, we want to convert to pounds and ounces, which means we just can't have that decimal stuff. So we got to figure out exactly how many pounds 115 is. So we got 115 ounces. I'm going to do this the same way, by the way. So 115 ounces, and I'm going to convert this first into pounds. So if I do that, I've got I got to get rid of my ounces, so that'll be in the denominator. Pounds in the numerator. 1 pound is 16 ounces. So when I figure this out, this will tell me at least how many whole pounds is in this stuff. So yes, the ounces do cancel out, and we'll just have to figure out how many I guess would look at pounds remain and then change those to ounces. So 115 times the 1 is 115, and then 1 times 16 is just 16. So 115 divided by 16 gives us 7.1875 pounds. So I just want to take the whole value on this for the pounds. So I have 7 pounds, and then I just need to change this decimal into the number of ounces. So we just go back. We have 0.1875. And yeah, there is a different way to do this. I'm going to show you guys both ways, okay? We're just going to multiply this by 16 ounces for 1 pound, because this was in pounds. So the pounds cancel, and 0.1875 times 16, I got 3. So it would be 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Now that may seem a little complicated. There was a little bit more conversion maybe than we needed. Because here's what we can do is, once we figured out that there were 7.1875 pounds, we could have just gone back and figured out how many ounces 7 pounds is. So I would do 7 times the 16, which is 112. And then how many ounces did we have to start out with? Well, the 115, so I would just subtract that 112 out of that, which was the 7 pounds. And I would have found the 3 ounces. But we still need to just include that 7 pounds there with it. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. So 2.4 pounds to pounds and ounces. So we just need to change the 0.4 into ounces on this. It's the same idea. So if I had 2 pounds, 4 ounces, I know I got 2 pounds. Ounces are the smaller unit, so I just got to figure out how many ounces 0.4 pounds is. So I have 0.4 pounds, and I would multiply this by, I got to have pounds in the denominator, so I'll have ounces in the numerator, meaning the pounds just cancel out. And it's 1 pound for 16 ounces, so I got 0.4 times 16, and that leaves me with 6.4 ounces. So this would be 2 pounds, 6.4 ounces. .7 pounds to pounds and ounces. So again, we have a whole unit here. So we know that's going to be 5 pounds. We just got to figure out how much 0.7 pounds is in ounces. So 0.7 pounds multiplied by some number of ounces per pound, so that the pounds will cancel out here. And we know that it's 16 ounces for 1 pound, so 0.7 times the 16 divided by the 1, and we get this decimal 11.2 ounces. So 5 pounds, 11.2 ounces. So 14, if your car emits 30 pounds of carbon dioxide every day, how many tons does it emit in a year? There are 365 days per year. So if it's 30 pounds per day, and by the way, this is a rate, right? 30 pounds per 1 day. And this by itself is a conversion, because we're converting this into, well, pounds per year, right? So I've got to, in other words, I've got to eliminate the days by having another days here in the numerator to cancel that out. And we'd have to compare that with years. Well, 1 year has 365 days. Yes, not everyone needs that, right? Some of you guys knew that you just take 30 times 365. But this is why that works, because of unit conversion. So this would tell us how many pounds per year. That's 10,950 pounds, because I still had pounds in my numerator. And then I've got years in my denominator for 1 year. All right, so to convert this, we want to know how many tons per year this is. So I'm just going to need to change the pounds into tons, and I will have tons per year. So I just need to change this into tons, and I'll compare that with pounds. 2,000 pounds for 1 ton. So when I multiply these out, 10,950 times 1 is going to be 10,950 over 1 times 2,000 divided by 2,000. So when I divide these two, I should have my answer. 5.475. And that's tons per year. Of course, that came from this fraction here. A bottle of cough syrup holds 12 fluid ounces. 1 dose is 1 tablespoon. How many doses are in the bottle? All right. So we need to change fluid ounces to tablespoons. That'll tell us how many tablespoons are in the cough syrup. So let's start with those 12 fluid ounces. And let's change that into cups, because we don't have fluid ounces to tablespoon, a direct conversion there. And I should put a B on that, tablespoons. So I'm going to change this into cups by dividing by fluid ounces so that they'll cancel, and compare that with cups. And it's 1 cup for 8 fluid ounces. So the fluid ounces cancel, and I'm left with 12 over 8 cups. Now we could simplify that now. We can simplify it later. It's not going to matter, because right here I'm going to change or convert my cups into tablespoons right away. So to get rid of the cups, I'd have to have that in the denominator. And I'm comparing this to tablespoons. 4 tablespoons is 1/4 of a cup. Now we'll multiply these. 12 times 4 is 48. 8 times 1/4. That's something I can do in a calculator, or we can use fraction multiplication. In any case, it comes out to 2. My cups canceled out, and I'm left with tablespoons. So to finish this off, 48 divided by 2 would be 24 tablespoons. So how many doses are there? Well, 1 tablespoon is a dose, so that actually ends up being a conversion as well. I'm going to change tablespoons to doses. 1 dose is 1 tablespoon, and multiplying these out, I get tablespoons canceled, and I get 24 doses.